Conquer the multiverse, marry superheroines, and unlock godlike powers. Like, share, and subscribe. Episode 31. Ling Ling Ability. Avengers Alliance Invitation. At the bottom of the empty tube in Fury's hand, there was a layer of faint red liquid. And worthy of Fury's solemnity, the only thing that can be placed after Kryptonian technology is Pym particles. Developed by Hank Pym at SHIELD, it can shrink objects and even be the key to linking the quantum universe. Dongfang Xing never expected. SHIELD still has samples left, and is he willing to give it to him? Although surprised, Dongfang Xing still pretended to be puzzled, and looked at Fury suspiciously. Is there anything magical about these few drops of liquid? This is a Pym particle. Fury said solemnly, it has the function of changing the structure of matter, making it zoom in and out, and it is also useful for living organisms. I believe you should be able to understand the value of it, right? Oh? Dongfang Xing raised his brows. I didn't expect that your planet can research quantum technology. Quantum technology? Fury grasped the point. This technology also exists in the universe? I don't know about the universe, it's just that someone from our star clan is researching it. Dongfang Xing used psychokinesis to create two planets, one big and one small. Usually we will call the universe we are in now the main universe. We speak, there is a quantum universe in the microcosm under the main universe. Its timeline and law are independent of the main universe, and it is a system of authority. And the technology related to it is collectively called the quantum universe by us. Fury also didn't expect that the Pym particle is actually related to another universe? You don't know? Dongfang Xing complained, don't tell me, you just use it to make it bigger or smaller? Fury. Once this thing was born, the first thing that comes to mind is to make the human body smaller for latent tasks. Microcosm? They don't care at all. The vision is still too shallow. Dongfang Xing shrugged and said, okay, with these few drops of samples, it can be considered a little help for our research, so that's it. Dongfang Xing did not ask for the formula of Pym particles. SHIELD simply does not. Hank Pym held it so tightly that even her daughter didn't know the recipe. Open, King's Treasure, and put away all collections. The system prompt sounded as expected. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the teleportation stone ash and mastering the ultra-long-distance teleportation channel. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the obelisk and mastering the key to alien awakening. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the disguise invisibility device and increase the family heritage. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Pym particle and mastering the key to the quantum universe. Congratulations to the host for becoming the savior, and his prestige has increased significantly on this planet. Family strength is growing, comprehensive reward settlement is in progress. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward, Speaking Spirit. Name, Yenling. Grade, A. Introduction, the ability to materialize language. Slogan, a gentleman uses his mouth, but not his hands. The rewards are stacked together again? Also good. Ability is more expensive than expensive. In the future, resources can be concentrated and then settled in batches. As for this, word spirit, ability. Dongfang Xing glanced at Fury. Is there anything else? About the transaction of KW89, shouldn't. Dongfang Xing took out the reagent from King's Treasure, which was used by Sharon before, but it has been automatically taken back. Give. Throw it to Fury, and turn around to test the new ability. Wait. Fury yelled, I have a plan called Avengers, you. Stop. Dongfang Xing said without turning his head, don't try to prostitute me for nothing, just make an offer if you need it. Fury could only swallow the words back. This one of two. Why didn't you even listen to the words and refused? Dongfang Xing is like this. Carla and Clark are like this. Even Professor X and the Earthlings are like this. Have no choice. Fury opened the drawer, took out a document labeled Avengers, and crossed Dongfang Xing off the list. Most of the names have already been crossed out. Think about it. Fury took pen to the end of the list, adding a new name. Tony Stark. Episode 32. Flying together. Yenling pulls her hips. Leaving Fury's office, Dongfang Xing went all the way down to the training room. Sharon is teaching Louise. They were obviously two beauties with their own merits, but they could make empty explosions with every move, and the floor was overwhelmed and torn apart. Just highlight a contrast. Seeing Dongfang Xing come in, Louise stopped immediately and trotted all the way over. Xing. Sister Sharon is too powerful. Louise said excitedly, no matter how I hit her, I can't hurt her. Perhaps Constitution is more suitable. Sharon has gained a tenfold increase and has the blessing of fighting skills, allowing Louise to make bold moves with confidence. Instead of Natasha Romanoff. Dongfang Xing rubbed Louise's head fondly, wiping the sweat off his hands. This made Louise a little embarrassed. Dongfang Xing didn't care, how could anyone not sweat during training? And it's not like he's never seen someone sweating profusely. He immediately activated Speaking Spirit, opened his mouth, and said, "Water." A cloud of clear water emerged out of thin air. Dongfang Xing cleaned his hands, and a thought shot out, hitting Louise on the head. Louise complained, "Xing, you'll catch a cold." Haha, Sharon walked over with a smile, and joked, "You may be stronger than the captain of the United States now, and you are afraid of catching a cold?" Louise slapped her head. "This is getting stronger," I didn't react. Sharon, on the other hand, looked at Dongfang Xing with eagerness in her eyes. "Xing, do you want to have a competition?" Sharon suggested, "I feel that I am very strong now. Maybe I can beat you." "This is expanded? And me. I want it too." Louise joined in the fun and said, "After training with Sister Sharon, I think I can do it too. Can you do it with two of you?" This question is asked. How can a man say no? Dongfang Xing hooked his fingers, "As long as you can touch me, I will lose. Otherwise." The two women understood in seconds. Louise and Sharon looked at each other, and surprisingly, neither of them showed any rejection. "Then I'll come." "Go." The two girls ejected and launched a charge. Dongfang Xing put his hands behind his back and lightly said, "Wind." In the airtight training room, a gust of wind suddenly blew up. The swiftness of the wind. Far beyond the deck of the space carrier, the momentum of the charge of the two women was stopped. Obviously Dongfang Xing is right in front of you, but it is as far away as if there is a sky. And because of the wind. Sharon's tall and Louise's plump, two completely extreme styles are undoubtedly revealed. And this is his woman. Pity. Carla is very high-spirited. Although he has already won the blood, she still can't let go of her career. Although the relationship is confirmed, but before getting married and having children, it still needs an opportunity. Enjoyed it for a while. Dongfang Xing focused his attention on the Speaking Spirit ability. Same as Stop Boundary. There is no consumption during use, and the strength of the power is completely controlled by the heart. Definitely. Restricted by his assessment level, there is an upper limit to this power. At this time, seeing that Dongfang Xing was distracted, Sharon pushed Louise hard with her backhand, and the latter jumped up and broke through the wind barrier in coordination. Seeing that the fingertips are about to touch Dongfang Xing. Ice. Louise, who jumped in the air, was frozen solid by the big ice cube. Crack, click, dash. Clatter. Relying on her strength, Louise broke through the ice and reached out to grab it. Teleport. Dongfang Xing's figure flashed, and he moved back half a meter. Louise's fingertips flicked across the air, and then were blown away by the strong wind, about to hit the wall. Cotton. Soft cotton instantly covered the entire training room, and Sharon and Louise were gently picked up. And the gust of wind stopped in due course. "It's amazing," Louise said in shock as she pulled the cotton. "It turned out to be real cotton?" "Star. How did you do it?" "It's just the ability of our Stark clan." Dongfang Xing said with a smile, "Compared to these, it's time for you to fulfill your bet." Louise's face flushed immediately, but her eyes were eager to try. Sharon pursed her lips. Although she was mentally prepared, she didn't expect this day to come so soon. Flying together, the flags and drums died down. Dongfang Xing began to summarize. First, using Speaking Spirit to call the wind and call the rain is really cool. Being handsome is enough. Any other questions? No. Dongfang Xing is very satisfied with this reward. But Episode 33. The strengthening route is determined. Tony is critically ill. System, is this speech ability only A level? Can it be improved? Get a higher evaluation, there is a probability of strengthening the existing ability. Sure enough. Is it okay to say what you say? Yes. Dongfang Xing nodded clearly, very satisfied. Elegant and timeless. This strengthening route is suitable for me, just move your mouth. It's like a violent man who fights hand to hand, it's too unreasonable. Look at this time. Dongfang Xing didn't even go to the frontal battlefield, not to mention solving a crisis of annihilation. He also harvested a bunch of rewards and took Carla's first blood. It's like Qin Shi Huang eating peppercorns, he won the peppercorns. And Dongfang Xing used psychokinesis to pull out the phone from a pile of clothes, and flipped through it casually. A complete victory. The Earth has driven off the invaders. They are all aliens, one is the savior and the other is the invader. The universe is big, we are not alone. Shock. The savior turned out to be an alien? Explore the mystery of Savior Dongfang Xing, the alien from the M78 Nebula. So you are such a savior? Dongfang Xing will form a family on Earth. The man I most want to marry in the world is actually an alien? Shock. Raiders only need to. Female idol. Women's welfare. Come to the Earth to choose the concubine? A lot of positive news about Dongfang Xing is flooding various boards. Entertainment, military, stocks, life. Basically, just open. The headlines on the front page were all about Dongfang Xing's handsome face. SHIELD is already campaigning for him. A powerful and handsome savior, or an alien? Instantly became the dream lover of countless girls. If Dongfang Xing came forward now, raising his arms and calling for his concubine unconditionally. Marry millions of wives in minutes. But Common's wife for Dongfang Xing, there is no possibility of quantitative change leading to qualitative change. Although Louise is common, she is still an important female supporting role, and she has the power of fate in her body. Do you really think that the system will reward any random woman? Getting ready for a good night's sleep. The cell phone rang suddenly, and Dongfang Xing was shocked. Crack. Smashed the phone. Use horse charm to recover and glance at the caller ID. Is it from Phil Coulson? Dial back and answer in seconds. You better have something to do. Dongfang Xing said. The situation is urgent. The other side said nervously, during the battle, Tony Stark was crushed by the reactor and lost his combat power, causing the shrapnel in his heart to flow into his heart. Although luckily he didn't hurt his heart, he got stuck in a blood vessel in his brain. Is now in a vegetative state and urgently needs your treatment. Ah. Is it so miserable? Vegetative people, right. Does that mean you can't die for the time being? Dongfang Xing stroked the hair of the two girls, talking playfully. Oh, it's that middle-aged man with a foul mouth, right? Dongfang Xing said casually, I remember he still owes me a collection. His battle suit figure is pretty good. You can bring me one back. After that, I'm going to hang up the phone. Wait. Wait. The voice on the other side changed to a female voice, and said eagerly, as long as you can come, no matter what the conditions are, I can promise you. Don't ask. The only woman who can care about Stark so much is Pepper Potts. It is also the Marvel heroine that Dongfang Xing is least interested in. TSK. This sentence seems familiar. Dongfang Xing complained, a woman once said this to me, and then she packed her things and ran away. I swear by God, I absolutely. Okay, I swear, whoever believes in this thing is an idiot. Dongfang Xing interrupted, can you make the decision instead of that stinky man? Sir, what conditions do you need to mention? Forget it, let Phil Coulson send me a location. Excellent. Sir. Dongfang Xing let the nonsense talk, and hung up the phone directly. Use psychokinesis to fly from the two girls, and after putting on the clothes, the address has already been sent. Dongfang Xing walked out of the training room. I saw Natasha Romanoff in a formal suit, standing at the door in a concave shape. I said why no one came in, so you were guarding. Dongfang Xing asked knowingly, bring them to New York State tomorrow, and I won't come back. Okay. Boss. Dongfang Xing shattered the curtain glass, recovered after going out, and flew towards New York. The Trident building, which was blaring with sirens, was left behind. Episode 34. Dongfang Xing, who bears vengeance. Slap Tony away. New York Presbyterian Hospital, top floor. A super powerful searchlight shot a huge beam of light into the sky. It was hard for Dongfang Xing not to see it. Mr. Dongfang, thank you so much for coming. Pepper was moved. Dongfang Xing raised his hand to stop. I don't like the guy with the smelly mouth very much, so I can save him, but I have to pay more. Just highlight a reality. Although the appearance of this profiteer is seriously inconsistent with the image of the savior in the newspaper. Pepper accepted it frankly. Can the newspapers of the United States be trusted? It doesn't matter how much money it takes to save Tony. Dongfang Xing just smiled. Money? Does he lack that thing? Without specifying the price, Dongfang Xing asked Pepper to lead the way. Come to the ward. I saw a group of doctors surrounding the hospital bed, and there was a familiar face among them, Stephen Strange. Dongfang Xing just glanced at it and ignored it. Huh? Are you that alien? Don't be rude. His name is Dongfang Xing. Several female doctors were extremely excited, their eyes were shining. One of them was even more daring and squeezed in front of Dongfang Xing. Hello. My name is Christine Palmer. Palmer said excitedly, thank you for repelling the intruders. My mother was almost killed at that time. I am so grateful. Dongfang Xing smiled gently. Sorry, I need to treat him, can you please go out first? Palmer and the others were taken aback, Dongfang Xing is still a doctor? Strange frowned slightly, with a little hostility in his eyes. I don't know if it was because of Palmer's attitude, or Dongfang Xing's words, to drive people away in his ward. I'm sorry, everyone. Pepper said, all fees will be doubled, please go out now, thank you for your cooperation. Employers have spoken. Strange didn't look for trouble, he just took a deep look at Dongfang Xing, nodded and turned to leave. Palmer and other female doctors looked at Dongfang Xing reluctantly. Real people are much more handsome than newspapers. After everyone left, Dongfang Xing stepped forward. Snapped. Raising your hand is a slap. Give Pepper a shock. About to get angry. Seeing Stark, who was dying just now, got up from the hospital bed with a grunt, covered his face and glared at Dongfang Xing. It looks like it's about to fire. Great. Tony, can you move? Pepper rushed over in ecstasy, but stopped restrainedly when she was about to hug her. I thought I'd never see you again. Stark also reacted, the anger in his eyes was gone, and he stared at Dongfang Xing complicatedly. Although he knew that slap, Dongfang Xing must have done it on purpose. But it did heal him. So. You can't be angry when you get slapped, but you have to be grateful and pay? It's too embarrassing to spend this money. Tell me, how much do you want? Stark said angrily, if you can cure me, it's worth tens of billions of dollars, you. Dongfang Xing rolled his eyes and looked at Phil Coulson, who was always in the background. Tell me the price of my offer. Phil Coulson bowed slightly and took a half step forward. Mr. Stark, Mr. Dongfang loves collections, so you need to pay enough, precious collections. Collection? Stark had an ominous premonition in his heart, are you talking about Van Gogh paintings, Huaxia ceramics, etc.? I'm afraid, Mr. Dongfang, he doesn't have much interest in our Earth's cultural collection. Phil Coulson said euphemistically. Stark understood. This is for the steel battle suit. Except for the steel battle suit, everything else is fine. Stark tentatively. In return, Dongfang Xing sneered. Besides that big figure, what else is worth my shot? Stark. Within 3 days, pay for the latest set of figures. This is what you owed me before. Dongfang Xing said directly, as for today's fee, I will come and get another set when your figures are upgraded in the future. Finished speaking. He left without looking back. Stark was left with a cloudy expression. Mr. Stark, you'd better do what Mr. East says. Phil Coulson persuaded, otherwise, no matter what Mr. East does, we SHIELD have no right to interfere. Or it is more appropriate to say that it is powerless to interfere. His hand is a life star, so rich and powerful, who knows how big the power behind it is. Fury didn't even know that he was the one who sent the life star. Phil Coulson hurried away, making Stark's face even worse. Wasn't it just a stinky mouth at the beginning? Hold grudges till now? How narrow-minded. Episode 35. Fiora delivered to your door. Super reward. Add more 6,000 flowers. When Phil Coulson chased him out, he found that Dongfang Xing hadn't gone far. About to speak. Let's go, there is one more person to save, right? Dongfang Xing said. Phil Coulson nodded quickly. It's right next door in Brooklyn, just take my car and... It's too slow, let me fly with you. Psychokinesis grabbed Phil Coulson, Dongfang Xing directly smashed the wall beside him, recovered and walked away. The corner of Phil Coulson's mouth twitched, he couldn't tell whether Dongfang Xing was being polite or not. Under his guidance. Soon they arrived at the destination, a SHIELD branch, and Rogers was placed in a container, and the surrounding area was decorated very warmly. After all, he's been asleep for 70 years, and it's going to take some getting used to, explained Phil Coulson. I'm not interested, let's cure it now, right? It's ready, you can drive anytime. Alright. Phil Coulson silently shut up. In addition to the high fees, the efficiency of doing things is really fast. Just about to call for people to evacuate first. Rogers on the bed had trembling eyelids, and slowly opened them. Seeing Dongfang Xing and Phil Coulson in weird costumes, Rogers immediately became vigilant. Who are you? Hydra? Where am I? Dongfang Xing didn't want to pay attention at first, and was about to turn around. Rogers suddenly exploded. A shoulder bump to Dongfang Xing because he was closest to the door. But... ice. Rogers was frozen again, with shock in his eyes. He's in good condition, he can hold it for half an hour. Dongfang Xing said casually, such a long time is enough for you to get him out. Yes. Gone. Dongfang Xing turned and left, leaving Phil Coulson with a bitter expression. It's easy for you to leave, leaving me a mess. Out the door. Dongfang Xing was still thinking about what to do. A figure descended from the sky and landed on the street. Stand up. Showing a cold face, it was the female Kryptonian who fought back and forth with Clark that day. Huh? Why are you here? Dongfang Xing asked strangely, didn't you Kryptonians all go there? General Zod asked me to stay and complete the deal. Oh, he has remodeled over there? Yes. Where is the information? Where is it? She pointed to her brain, and then to herself. All the scientific research results of Krypton are recorded in my brain. Besides, General Zod heard that you are very interested in powerful women, so he also sent me to you. My name is Fiora, and I will let the master use it from now on. Dongfang Xing. This. People are walking on the street, and their wives deliver them to their door? Zod, you are really. You understand me so well. This Fiora has good looks and strength, and she is also a high-cold female general. Except for her short legs, she is simply an enhanced version of Hill. Who can refuse this? Go. Go home and get married. Dongfang Xing greeted Fiora, turned around and entered the SHIELD branch. He was bumping into Rogers, who was rushing left and right, trying to break out. Hey. It's never over, is it? Dongfang Xing is about to make a move. Fiora dodged and stopped in front of Dongfang Xing. With a flick of her long legs, Rogers kicked the wall. The other SHIELD agents rushed up to subdue him, but found that he was already fainted. This made Dongfang Xing even more satisfied. A capable door-to-door wife is simply too perfect. Speak to Phil Coulson and ask him to check in. Dongfang Xing and Fiora turned around and walked towards the agent's restroom, found an empty one and got in. This night, the entire SHIELD branch was partially shaken and lasted until noon the next day. In the room, as usual, use horse charm to smooth the frown. TSK. This girl who has been fighting all the year round is really exciting. Dongfang Xing said happily, it's still the original one, Zod did a good job this time. He looked at the system prompt. Krypton has all the technology, and married such a fierce wife, how much will the reward be? Hold C. Dongfang Xing's eyes widened. This wave of rewards. Isn't it a bit too against the sky? Episode 36. Vector Manipulation. Superman Lineage. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Krypton Complete Technology, adding a strong technological background to the family. Get the reward Vector Control. Name, Vector Control. Grade, S. Introduction, this ability can arbitrarily manipulate light, electromagnetic fields, etc., and the direction of the vector that can be touched by the surface of the body. Slogan, the lever to move the universe is given to you, but can you do it? Congratulations to the host for marrying Fiora, the combat power of the women in the family has soared as a whole. Get the reward Superman Bloodline. Name, Superman Bloodline. Grade, B. Introduction, by absorbing the light energy of the yellow sun, you can get including but not limited to super strength, super speed, supervision, etc., and become a Superman. Tagline, Superman Blood, not Kryptonian blood. There is no superposition this time, and there are 2 rewards. Both of them are critical strikes. Vector Control, undoubtedly, YYDS. As long as the computing power of the brain can keep up, all attacks will be ineffective against him, and all of them will bounce back for you. And just right. Superman Bloodline, there is a superbrain. With a thought. Dongfang Xing reflects light, and the body surface becomes a mirror-like texture, reflecting the surrounding scenery. Get used to it. Dongfang Xing turned to manipulating the light, which circled the body surface and shot out from the other side in parallel, and the whole person disappeared immediately. Achieved the same effect as Snake Charm. More abilities still need him to dig. But. System, why is the Superman bloodline rated as B rank? The host obtained the Superman bloodline in the B level state, and the bloodline level can be upgraded through rewards later. Just say it. Even the current Clark is definitely not as low as a B level. Not to mention. System, thinking Superman is a robot, leaving aside, is there any chance to upgrade to Gold Superman in the future? Have. Nice. What level is Gold Superman? That is the existence that can create things out of thin air and explode the universe with bare hands. Dongfang Xing was very satisfied. He opened the system casually and took a look. Family system. Host, Dongfang Xing. Rating, B+. Rewards, A level, 12 talismans, A level King's Treasure, D level, Human Strengthening Potion KW 89, S level Boundary, A level, Word Spirit, S level, Vector Control, B level, Kryptonian Bloodlines. Members, Daisy Louise, Sharon Carter, Fiora. Really? My constitution was too slow before, and it will improve once I increase the rating. Open Fiora's panel again. Wife, Fiora. Rating, B-. Ability, Kryptonian Scientist, Kryptonian Science and Technology Encyclopedia. Oh? Fiora turned out to be a scientist gene? This was something Dongfang Xing didn't expect. That's it. At that time, Fiora was still fighting with Clark, back and forth. Definitely Clark let it go. Taking Fiora's arm away, Dongfang Xing got up and took a shower as usual. Get out of the agent lounge. Natasha Romanoff, as always, stood by the door. It's coming. Dongfang Xing said casually, where are Louise and the others? Training in the training room below. Natasha Romanoff reports. Your new home is under construction and it will take about half a month. The site is located on the border of New York State, only 50 kilometers away from New Jersey, where the Xavier Academy for Gifted Youth is located. Tony Stark's latest battlesuit -6 Malawian Kwaches, Phil Coulson has brought back to the branch. Besides. Episode 37. Knock on the bamboo pole. Osborne Biotech. Natasha Romanoff reported in detail, very professional. But it was interrupted by Dongfang Xing waving. In the future, you will store the collections in a centralized manner, and just remind me to collect them every once in a while. Except for my woman and some big events. Small things like site selection and construction, don't report. Just watch and deal with it yourself. Natasha Romanoff nodded respectfully. Okay. Boss. During the talk, Dongfang Xing also came outside the building. The midday sun was quite harsh, but he felt exceptionally enjoyable. The super cells in the body are greedily absorbing light energy and slowly evolving. It seems that this B-level, Superman bloodline, refers to directly obtaining the combat power of this level. But it is not limited to B-level. He can also continue strengthening super cells by basking in the sun. System, what level is Clark's current combat power? Class A. What about the upper limit? S rank. Dongfang Xing nodded clearly, and looked not far away. This SHIELD branch is located in Manhattan, not far from the Stark building, and the slightly shorter building next to it is the Osborne building. In the SHIELD archives, Dongfang Xing saw the information about Norman Osborn. Because of the retroviral proliferation inherited from the family, he sought medical treatment everywhere. Just enough to squeeze a wave of wool. Come on, go by Osborn. Natasha Romanoff raised her long legs to keep up, but Dongfang Xing jumped up and flew away. Natasha Romanoff. Silently retracting his legs, he turned and entered the branch office. She can't fly, so let's drive after her honestly. Dongfang Xing used super perspective to easily find Norman himself on the top floor. As usual. Broke the curtain glass, went in and repaired it. Seeing Norman stunned. Are you being polite? Still impolite? Dongfang Xing looked at Norman. His bones are still young, but his skin is already old, and the wrinkles on his face are similar to those of Pierce. Also good. The more anxious you are about your illness, the easier it is for him to hit the bamboo pole. It's you. Norman recognized Dongfang Xing, alien savior? What are you looking for me for? Here to cure your disease. Dongfang Xing said definitely, one price, you pack the whole Osborne biotechnology to me, and I will cure your family's genetic disease, how about it? Norman stood up in surprise. Can it really be cured? He excitedly said, you want Osborne? Here it is. I'll give it all to you. Osborne Biotech was originally created to treat genetic diseases. If you give it, you will give it. As long as people are alive. His scientific research ability and family wealth are still there, and it is only a matter of time before he makes a comeback. The most important is Dongfang Xing ability has overwhelmed a group of superheroes to become the savior. No matter it is strength or background, it cannot be shaken by Norman. He is not qualified to negotiate terms at all. Simply, I like to trade with smart people. Dongfang Xing stepped forward and clicked on Norman from the air. Horse charm activated. Norman is like changing frames. From a very old man to a man in his 30s, his originally stooped waist has also become straight, and his old eyes have become piercing. The whole person exudes the breath of vitality. This made Norman ecstatic. Survived. Finally, he broke the curse of the family and could live past 30. The office door opens. Natasha Romanoff, still in the secretary's skirt, walked in gracefully. It's just in time. Dongfang Xing ordered, you hand over the authority to him, and then take an inventory. All finished products and technologies will be kept in my collection. Okay. Boss. Natasha Romanoff walked towards Norman, not much surprise in her eyes. Dongfang Xing can even restore her uterus, it's just a family genetic disease, what's the difficulty? Mr. Osborne, please cooperate with my work. Natasha Romanoff said politely. Norman stared at Natasha Romanoff's bewitching face, puzzled. Aren't you, that's Dark Guy's personal secretary? That's just my previous task. Now my boss is Dongfang Xing. Natasha Romanoff smiled and said, the boss doesn't like to procrastinate very much, so please cooperate with the handover work. Norman nodded, and there was no nonsense. Go back to your desk, take out the secret key to activate, and the desktop turns into a screen. After a few operations, he handed the secret key to Natasha Romanoff. Now everything in Osborne Biotech belongs to you. Natasha Romanoff smiled and shook her head. You haven't given the permission of the underground laboratory yet. Norman's complexion changed. That is a secret laboratory cooperating with the military, and only a few people know how the woman in front of her. Dongfang Xing glanced at Norman, are he being careful here? Mr. Norman, don't forget, your son hasn't recovered yet. Natasha Romanoff reminded kindly. Norman's face twitched. Sorry, I was too excited and neglected. He returned to the desktop and operated a few more times. The wall opens to reveal an elevator entrance. Norman looked at Dongfang Xing and said, the authority transfer of the underground laboratory needs to be completed below, please follow me. Let's go and have a look. Episode 38. Dark Matter Computer. The most suitable reward. The three walked into the elevator and descended all the way to the ground. As soon as the elevator door opens, it is a showroom where all the core products of Osborne Biotechnology are displayed. Green Goblin armor. Rhino armor. Octopus mechanical tentacles. These, combined with Stark's MK6, should make for another nice bonus. Norman also completed the authentication. After entering Dongfang Xing's fingerprints and irises, he officially handed over everything in front of him to Dongfang Xing. Then he looked at Dongfang Xing expectantly. Everything is given to you now, when will you give my son Harry? Go and bring him. Dongfang Xing said. No problem. Norman was overjoyed. He subconsciously turned around to enter the elevator, but found that the elevator was not open, and insufficient permissions popped up on the screen. Norman's complexion was instantly complicated, and he had a sense of déjà vu. Dongfang Xing conveniently added permission to Natasha Romanoff. You take him up, and hand over to the board of directors by the way, don't know us by then. Okay. Boss. Wait for the two to leave. Dongfang Xing was amazed as he looked at a room full of collectible figures. This is poor intelligence. If he hadn't sorted out the information, he would have almost forgotten that there is Norman's wool that can be squeezed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Osborne Biotechnology, which has laid a solid foundation for the family to enter the business. Congratulations to the host for obtaining MK6, mastering the space gem isotope, and obtaining the steel battle suit prototype. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Green Goblin armor and having healing armor. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Rhinoceros armor and possessing armed forces. Congratulations to the host for winning the reward Dark Plane Computer. Name, Dark Plane Computer. Grade, A. Introduction. The dark matter computer loaded in the gene can also be called the gene engine, which can program the genetic code and drive the dark energy to complete various tasks. Slogan. What's the use of a computer without a system? Well, Dongfang Xing didn't understand the reward this time. A computer? What is the use of this thing? Buzz. Dongfang Xing's vision flickered, and he came to a dark space. A mechanical sound sounded. The dark plane computer was turned on for the first time, but failed to retrieve the dark energy, and started to run with light energy. Searching in the gene system. Search successful. Load the genetic system, Superman bloodline. Load the ability plugin, Superbrain. Load the ability plugin, Super Strength. Found the ability plugin outside the gene system, reloading. Load the ability plugin, Speaking Spirit. Load the ability plugin, Stop Boundary. Load the ability plugin, 12 Talismans. Load the ability plugin, Vector Control. The loading is complete, and the genetic system has been activated. Dark plane computer is at your service. After a series of prompts, the dark plane finally had light, and a phantom with huge amounts of shadow appeared in front of Dongfang Xing, whose handsome silhouette was actually Dongfang Xing himself? Dark matter computer, right? Dongfang Xing said loudly, the name is a bit long, so let's change it to Dijia. The name has been changed to Tiga. Very well, tell me what you can do. You can start the ability plugin with one click according to the established programming, and assist in the completion of the calculation work. Auxiliary computing? Try it. Increase the established programming, use vector control to rebound everything, and name it absolute defense. The established program has been added. Activate absolute defense. At the same time, Dongfang Xing's body turned into a glass texture, which was the result of the light being reflected. Besides, electromagnetic waves, dust, air. All existing vectors are all bounced off, and Dongfang Xing does not need to calculate all the time. All are hosted and run by Dijia. That's great. This dark matter computer is simply a gospel for lazy people. Increase the established programming, use vector control to bounce light, electromagnetic waves, etc., and name it absolute concealment. Increase the established programming, use vector control to build absolute defense in the direction of the palm, and name it no traffic. Episode 39. Spider-Gwen. Lizard Peter? Add more 7,000 flowers. Dongfang Xing programmed several in succession. Add his development of vector control and speech spirit into it. Thereafter, Dongfang Xing used these moves again, without even shouting. As long as he thought about it in his mind, Dijia would activate the corresponding moves. It is equivalent to the one-click casting of netizens, which is convenient and fast. Although it didn't increase too much strength this time, Dongfang Xing was still very satisfied. This ability has increased, and management is also troublesome. With Tiga, it is equivalent to having a housekeeper. It can be so much easier. Here, this wool of Osborne biotechnology is almost squeezed. Dongfang Xing left the underground laboratory and found that Natasha Romanoff hadn't returned yet. It is estimated that it is still in handover. I just promised Norman to wait here for him to bring his son for treatment. Dongfang Xing simply went down for a walk, to see if he could encounter a dog blood plot or something similar. The dog-eyed security guard treated people differently, but found out that the opposite was his new boss, which shocked the onlookers for a whole year. The joy of WeChat private visit. Pity. It turns out that Natasha Romanoff is extremely efficient. Dongfang Xing just entered the elevator, and found that the message chairman replacement was playing on it. Impressively placed is his photo. Pretend is okay, but the face slap is gone. Forget it, Dijia, change the light and change my appearance. The light changed, and Dongfang Xing's appearance changed drastically from head to toe. Totally a handsome stranger. In this way, you don't have to worry about being recognized by passers-by as a monkey onlookers. The elevator door just opened. Dongfang Xing didn't even look at which floor it was, and walked out directly. Ah. The scream of a female voice attracted Dongfang Xing's attention. Follow the sound. I saw a blonde girl with blue eyes, clutching her wrist and looking scared. And above her head, a colorful spider is slowly rising with the cobweb in its back. Bitten by a spider? Still at Osborne Biotech? This is Spider-Gwen? A one-armed middle-aged man walked out quickly, his eyes fixed on the blonde girl. Gwen. What's wrong with you? I seemed to be bitten by something, and I couldn't help shouting. Gwen said uncertainly, sorry to disturb you, Dr. Connors. Connors waved his hand indifferently. Since it's fine, why don't you rush back to band training, go quickly. Gwen was shocked. He rushed to the elevator in a hurry and met Dongfang Xing face to face, his eyes brightened. What a handsome Asian guy. Gwen Stacy? Dongfang Xing said in a strange tone, what bit you just now? Yes. Gwen came to his senses, and quickly said, it should be bitten by a mosquito. I shouldn't be screaming so loudly, right? It's nothing. Dongfang Xing changed the topic, it's just that a few radiation spiders escaped from our laboratory. Just in case, do you want to have an inspection? It shouldn't be such a coincidence, right? Gwen wondered, our band is waiting for me to go back to rehearse, and this time it will be performed at the graduation ceremony, which is very important. Dongfang Xing didn't force it either. Raise your hand and shake. On the empty fingertips, there was an extra business card. This was prepared by Natasha Romanoff. There's my phone number above. If you feel unwell, please contact me immediately. Dongfang Xing instructed. Gwen looked weird. Wow. What a magic trick. She took the business card and looked at Dongfang Xing with a smile in her eyes. Okay, I will contact you. Gwen winked playfully, even if I am in good health. Beep. The elevator just arrived. Gwen stepped in and waved his business card at Dongfang Xing. Wait for my news. Dongfang Xing was a little funny when the elevator doors closed. Gwen probably felt that Dongfang Xing was trying to strike up a conversation with her on purpose. Although it is true. But what Dongfang Xing wants is not a chance to date. Instead, she appeared in the early stage of Gwen Chao's ability awakening, when her mind was at its most hesitant and panicked, and took her down in one fell swoop. Spider-Gwen, I'm looking forward to it. Dongfang Xing hummed a little tune and strolled in the other direction. Until Natasha Romanoff found him, with Norman and his son Harry, who seemed to be Gwen's age. After treating him with the horse charm, Norman gratefully took Harry away. Watching the two leave, Dongfang Xing was full of thoughts. I don't know if the Peter Parker of this world will become a Spider-Man? Or Dr. Lizard? I'm looking forward to it. Just anyway. Spider-Gwen can only be his. He glanced across at the Stark building, which was about to be completed. During the construction over there, I will temporarily live here. Dongfang Xing said, bring my wives here, let's celebrate tonight. 2. It's still not enough for him to fight. Episode 40. Dongfang Xing's bottom line. One sentence detonated Tony. Osborne Building, top floor. An entire floor is designated as a private residence, with luxurious decoration and high-end configuration. The four of them quarreled all night, from the door to the sofa, then to the bedroom, and then to the guest bedroom. Until the sun shines for 3 pulls. Fiora, of Kryptonian blood, was the one who collapsed from exhaustion. On the other hand, Dongfang Xing is still refreshed. 3 is still not enough to fight. I want to hit 10. Shook his head. Use the horse charm to restore the 3 girls, and then put them on the bed one by one and cover them with quilts. Just take a bath. Put on Natasha Romanoff's bathrobe and come to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. There is a sense of sight that the world is under control. But with a glance. Seeing the Stark building, which was a head taller than him, Dongfang Xing frowned slightly. I feel a little upset. He is not an unreasonable person, insisting that Stark lift off the roof of the built building. So. Tiga, contact Natasha Romanoff. As a dark matter computer, all electronic signals can be used without barriers. Soon. Natasha Romanoff's voice sounded directly in Dongfang Xing's mind. Boss, what are your orders? Osborne Biotechnology was changed to Shuguang Biotechnology, and Osborne Building was changed to Shuguang Building. Okay. Boss. In addition, the top floor of this building needs to be taller than the Stark building. No problem. Boss. Dongfang Xing is very satisfied with Natasha Romanoff's crispness. It was right to keep her here. What? The capped building cannot be rebuilt? The law is the moral bottom line of ordinary people. At the level of Dongfang Xing, it all depends on self-restraint. Simply put. The laws of the earth can't control him, Dongfang Xing. Dongfang Xing is doing things now, as long as he does not break the moral bottom line, such as killing people at will and creating huge amounts of negative events in public opinion. Can do almost anything. After all. Dongfang Xing is an alien who leaves as soon as he says he wants to go. He can't stay here, he has his own place to stay. Fury was more worried than Dongfang Xing, whether he would be uncomfortable. And Natasha Romanoff? It is the privileged window that Fury gave Dongfang Xing. Everything is special. But half an hour. There was a lifting helicopter to send the equipment, and the brand of Osborn building was changed first, and then continued to be added. This caught the attention of Stark, who came to check on the progress. What's the situation? Osborn, the sick old man, wants to compete with me for the first place? Stark said angrily. Notify the construction team, continue to build. Okay, I'll go through the application procedures first. Pepper nodded. Submit it directly. Make it up later. Stark said domineeringly. How dare they disagree with this? Pepper nodded as usual. Stark was originally rebellious, but now he has become a superhero Iron Man, let alone follow the rules honestly. Just didn't expect. The construction team started working, but the New York City government received a letter. The procedure is not passed. Not to mention Stark, even Pepper suspects that he heard it wrong. They are Stark Industries. In the past, the military industry was the first, and now the clean energy is the first. Whether it's tax payment, status, or connections, there's no reason to get stuck with them on such a small issue, right? There must be something wrong, I'll ask. Pepper got up to leave. No need. Stark said angrily, since his city government doesn't agree, then I don't need them. Stark dialed Phil Coulson straight away, and that little thing was enough for him. Let's talk about the appeal. Sorry, Mr. Stark. Phil Coulson said helplessly, the Shuguang building, the former Osborn building, now belongs to Mr. Dongfang. His requirement is that it must be built higher than yours, so. Phil Coulson didn't continue, but the meaning was obvious. Dongfang Xing next to S.H.I.E.L.D. Both sides are masters who are not short of money, and it is obviously impossible for Fury to make Dongfang Xing give in. So. Only in the program, Stark is stuck. So you mean, you want me to give in? Stark said angrily, I'm Tony Stark. Iron Man. You want me to give in? Phil Coulson expressed his innocence. Since neither side is easy to mess with, then. How about Mr. Stark, you can try Mr. East? Phil Coulson suggested. Stark. He fell silent. Joke. The first time Dongfang Xing met, he turned him into a joker fish on the spot because of his bad mouth. Later, he was treated, even though S.H.I.E.L.D. interceded, it was still a big deal. If this is asking for trouble. Isn't that looking for abuse? But can he bear this breath? You tell Nick Fury, if this matter is not resolved, the application of Kryptonian technology will let him do it himself. Stark said harshly. I'll tell you the truth. Stark hung up the phone angrily, and Pepper hurriedly handed him a glass of water. Without waiting to speak. Fury's call just came. Open your mouth as King Bomb.